Welcome to The Youth Will Always Win. This podcast is here to inspire, challenge, and equip the next generation. Whether you're headed to school, cleaning your room, or navigating the busy moments in between, we'll explore what it means to stand strong in your faith and follow God in today's world. Each episode will dive into real stories, practical advice, and uplifting conversations, reminding you that you're never alone on this journey. So plug in, get ready to be motivated, and always remember, no matter the challenges you face, the youth will always win.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Youth Will Always Win, the podcast where we talk about faith, life, and how to win in the areas that matter the most. I'm your host, Pastor Connor, and tonight we are diving in episode 3 where we are talking about winning in your gifts. And so to do that alongside of us as normal, I have a special guest with us, Pastor Mark Whitehead. Can we give it up for him tonight?
What's up, what's up?
Yo, yo, yo.
How's it going?
Man, I always forget to say this because all of our episodes have been like this so far.
Yeah.
But we got a live audience tonight. It's going to be great. And so, Pastor Mark, we are so excited to have you on this podcast. And so, you've been in ministry for a long time.
Yeah.
And you have seen firsthand how God uses people's gifts to build his kingdom.
Yeah.
And so before we dive into our discussion tonight, how about you, Pastor Mark, just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, cool. That sounds great, man. It is awesome to be here. I'm so excited. Live audience, you're amazing. Shout out live audience.
Oh yeah.
If you're listening, you should be here. That's all. And then I'll just go ahead and answer the question now that I've said that.
Yeah,
so,
you have to.
So my journey kind of to this spot started when I was a baby.
Oh, really? I wouldn't have guessed that. That's crazy.
I know. Nobody laughed.
They don't get your time to joke. They're like,
give it more time.
Yeah, they'll warm up to you.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But no, I was born in Indiana. So I was born in Lafayette, Indiana, on the other side of the state. Purdue fan, Boiler Up.
I don't watch basketball.
Yeah, so nobody.
So,
yeah, I just.
There's booze out there.
Yeah, okay.
It's hard to hear, but there's booze.
That's what I was. Yeah.
Man.
No, so I grew up on that side of the state. I am the second born of 4. Had an older brother, 2 younger sisters. Had a pretty normal family life growing up. Went to church pretty consistently, but here's the one thing I would say, like, church was just that for me growing up in my family. Yeah. It was just something to do. It really wasn't until later on in my life that I really felt like, it really in college, late high school, college, that I really started making, church more about just going to church and really my own faith. Mm-hmm. And, long story short, got saved when I was young, but just went to church. And then, eventually was going to Purdue. And this kind of dives into the calling. And I know we're going to talk about some other things tonight, but really felt, had a friend invite me to be a youth leader. With him, and he invited. I smiled. I smiled because I was going
to you to be on youth staff.
Yeah, he did. He was leading a small group of middle school boys. Yeah, Cricket. If you know, right? I love middle school boys. You guys are awesome. But if you know, you know. And so invited me to do that, and honestly, as I was going to Purdue, as I was majoring in going a completely different direction with my life, began to realize that I had a love and a passion for that. Yeah. And it was middle school boys. So it was of God if I had a love and a passion for that, right?
For how crazy they are.
Yeah, for how crazy they are. But with that, just felt called, and there's lots of other things that I could go into when it comes to that. But eventually left Purdue, went to North Central University, Assemblies of God College up in Minnesota, and that's right. I heard something. I don't know.
I think there's alumni in here.
It was good.
Here,
Go Rams. Anyways. Went to university there and graduated with a degree in youth ministries, and from that moment, dated my wife long distance, not my wife, now long distance, and God has just blessed. There's so much more I could talk about when it comes to that, but through multiple different ways, ended up being a youth pastor in 3 different states and really overseeing kids ministry. And every time just saw God pour out blessing after blessing after blessing. And now sometimes I don't even know why I'm serving in this position, because, this is not something that I ever thought or wanted really. But God has placed, and in a lot of ways, that's what happens, right? Yeah. You're in spots that you never thought you would be, but God just opens the door. And, and so here I am right now serving as Next Gen Director for Indiana, and man, I absolutely love it. I love what I get to do every day. I get to be in youth ministries and help students get to know God, and I get to encourage youth pastors and kids pastors, and I mean, it's the best job in the world.
Man,
so
I love it.
That was like really,
No, I'm excited to be
Yeah.
here. It is a great thing that you are here with us tonight. And so before we even get into winning in our gifts, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's take a step back. We first have to talk about, why does this even matter?
Yeah.
Why should, whether they're here at Lighthouse Teens with us tonight or listening at home, why should students care about figuring out their gifts in the first place?
Yeah. I think it's a really good question to start out with, because I would kind of give two answers to it. I think as I have traveled the state, not only now, but like as a youth pastor for many years, one of the biggest struggles, if I can put it that way, there's lots, but one of the biggest struggles that I feel like youth and teens have a lot is, and especially in high school, later in high school, is this: what am I going to do with the rest of my life question? Yep. Like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so we'll go into this maybe a little bit later, but answering that question really starts with knowing your gifts and discovering your gifts. Because there's a verse, and I wrote it down because sometimes I can't remember. There's a verse in Ephesians 4:10. It says this: each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. In other words, God has given each and every single student, each and every single human being gifts and talents and skills. And God has given those gifts and talents and skills to you because he has a calling on your life. And as a faithful steward of those gifts, you need to know what they are and use those. And I talk about calling. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but let me just say this, if I could quickly say it.
Yeah.
Like, we all have a calling on our lives. I like to break it up into two, because I think the word calling gets confused a lot when thrown out there. Like, we all, whether have a general calling to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to do everything I've commanded you. Like, that's a general calling that if you are a Christian, that is what you are called to do. And then what I like to call the second calling is really the specific calling, and that is, where is it that God has asked you to fulfill that calling? That could be a pastor.
Yeah, that's good.
That could be a missionary. That could be a doctor. That could be a nurse. That could be at the grocery store. That could be at a Starbucks. That could be anywhere, right? So we all have that general calling, but in order to understand, in order to be a good steward, I should say, of those gifts, you have to seek and figure out that specific calling where God wants you to walk those gifts and why he is giving you those gifts, where he wants you to walk you out.
Yeah, that is super great. I love how you put that, and just the emphasis of, when I think a lot of times, and especially in my life when I was in high school, hearing that word calling, I just always felt that meant pastor.
Yes.
Like, you have a call over your life. Like, nah, I'm not being a missionary in Africa.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's like,
exactly.
no, like, God can call me to do so many different things, and he calls us. And if we were all called to do the same thing, well, that would just not work out, right? So I love just God's willingness just to, he's a creative God. And he lets us be creative as well. And so as we're kind of talking about that, discovering your gifts, let us know a little bit, Pastor Mark, how have you discovered your giftings in your own life? Because there might be students, man, I'm in junior high, or even I'm a senior, and I don't really know my giftings. I really don't know that. How did you discover that in your life?
Yeah, I would probably answer this kind of a short answer and a long answer. I think the short answer, when I was younger, I discovered my gifts, honestly, through other people. And I mean that from the standpoint of through other, like, and I'll use this word, trusted adults, trusted people in my life pointing things out to me. Like, I knew there were certain things that I was good at, But then people would say, hey, you are really good at this, like a trusted adult, a youth pastor, somebody like that. And it wasn't just ministry related, because in a lot of ways, I wasn't even though I went to youth group as, middle school or high school, I wasn't really plugged in to the ministry. It was just people that would tell me. So I would think that was kind of the first way. It was through listening to what other people kind of said I was good at. I mean, that sounds really simple and really basic.
No, it's a great, like when I'm reading that question, I'm not even thinking about it like that, which is a great thing. Like having people, making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are going to pull the good in you, not the bad.
Yes.
So crucial.
Yeah. And then I think the other part of that short answer, and I mean, we can dive into some other things too, but the other part of that short answer would just be that, I remember taking like a spiritual gifts test.
Oh, yeah.
Right thing, like in the back of a Bible or something like that my youth pastor gave me. And that just pointed out some things to me in my own life, that I was like, yeah, that's definitely it. Now, I will say this, when I got a little bit older, the long answer of this is I discovered this cool tool. That's not really a tool that I used that really helped define some things for me. And that was this tool called GPS. Which I can go into a little bit of what that means, but
love it.
Yeah. So we all have on our phone, we all have a GPS, right? A maps, right? Everybody has that on their phone, or at least I think most people have that. I'm assuming. Back in the flip phones, you don't have it, but anyways, but now everybody has that, right? And in order to find where you're going, right, you need at least, as part of that GPS, you need at least 3 satellites to pinpoint where you're at, right? So this tool, this idea, this thought is really the idea of having a GPS when it comes to your spiritual life. And those GPS, the words GPS, I think are global positioning satellites or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. But on the spiritual side, it's gifts, passions, and story. Gifts, passions, and story. And so once you kind of discover your gifts, like what the good thing, the things that you're good at, like for me, when I got older, I realized I was good at administration, teaching, leadership, discernment. There's things like that, right? And then when it came to my passions, I realized that I was passionate about my people passion. I was passionate about youth. Not really passionate about babies. Like when a baby comes I'm like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
exactly.
Not that I don't like kids, don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? My people passion was youth. It wasn't adults, it was youth. My influence passion, like I wanted to invite people on a journey with me, which is an evangelistic influence passion. And then my cause passion was really, the idea of what breaks my heart. What breaks my heart is not seeing youth know Jesus. And so those were my passions. And then at the end of the day, when you take those gifts and those passions and you put them together and then you compare them to your story, like for me, when I was young, when I was a teenager, I didn't really have a deep relationship with God. And so when you take my gifts and what I'm passionate about and you put those together and you compare those to both the positive things in your story and the hurts in your story, or the things that messed you up when you were younger or whatever in your story, then you can arrive on really your calling, where God has called you to minister. And so that's honestly, we don't have enough time to pack it all, but if you take all of that, that's honestly why I'm where I'm at today, is because of all of those things that God prepared me, starting with my gifts way long ago. Yeah,
I've never heard like that GPS mindset. That is a great way for us. I really appreciate you saying that. So gifts, passion, and story. So just seeing how that connects in each of our lives. And then the great thing is, in all of our lives, they're going to be different, but they're all going to connect, and it's going to put us exactly where God wanted us to be. And so, I think another thing that I know that I've struggled with in my life at times, and I'm sure someone listening has as well, is a lot of times we view gifts and talents from God as just things that can happen in a church.
Yeah.
So oh, I can sing, or I can run a computer, or I can play a guitar, or I'm good at public speaking. And we look at those are the only gifts God gives us.
Yeah.
That, man, if I can't be a worship singer, I'm out of luck. Man, if I don't know how to hit those drums and play a beat, then I'm out of luck.
Yeah.
And so I want to know, Pastor Mark, what would you say for those listening who feel like their talents, whether it's art or sports or dancing or something else, we could go on and on. What would you say to those who feel like their gifts aren't quote unquote spiritual enough to be used by God?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, once again, going to that passage of scripture, like God has given everybody a gift and they're all unique and we're all stewards of that. I probably, honestly, if I could, I would go to the example of David. I love David. He's probably one of my favorite biblical characters. And quickly, just to say this, like David, if you know the story of David, he was a shepherd boy, right? He was out in the fields taking care of his father's sheep. And, at a certain point, there was a king over Israel, and Samuel came along and said, basically, King Saul was not following Jesus anymore. And so Samuel came along and, was trying to find the next king. Samuel was the prophet, the person that anointed, and went through all of David's brothers, right? Went through all of them, and none of them were the God's chosen one. And then here comes David, right? The little shepherd boy. The scripture doesn't really talk about him that much, but God said, I pick him. He's a man after my own heart, right? That's what happened. I pick him. He's the man after my own heart. And Samuel in that moment anoints David as king of Israel. Young boy, shepherd boy, anoints him as king of Israel. What happens to David in that moment? Nothing. He goes back to taking care of the sheep. He goes back to taking care of the flock.
Come on, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing happened. God had anointed him. God had called him. And here's the important part. If you go on, fast forward to the story that everybody knows, David and Goliath, right? David and Goliath. David, here's Goliath mocking the armies of Israel. He says to Saul, I'll go out, I'll take care of him. Saul says, hey, yeah, you can go, but here, let me put my own armor on you. And first of all, so just a side note to this story, like you can't put someone else's gifts on you and be effective with them. You have to use your own, right? So what does he do? He uses the gifts that he has been practicing while he was still a little boy. He uses his sling. Yeah. And he picks up 5 stones and he goes and he takes down Goliath. The scripture talks about, I killed the lion and the bear with the sling, right? He used his natural abilities, his sling gifts, if you were. For all of you out there, he used his natural abilities to take down the Goliath. Yeah. Another natural ability he had was the harp. He practiced the harp. And when he played the harp for Saul, evil spirits fled, right? Yeah. And so here's what I would say to those that are like, well, my gift is not some fancy gift and everything else. And this is what I would say. God has given you a gift. Keep practicing your gift, because at a certain point, how that gift becomes a supernatural gift is when the Holy Spirit begins to put his spirit upon you and it turns into a supernatural gift, and then you can be used by God. So don't stop practicing your gifts. David used a slingshot. That was one of his gifts, right? Yeah. One of many, but it was a natural gift. It wasn't preaching. It wasn't singing. It wasn't any of that. It was literally a slingshot.
Yeah. I feel like, think about how that story would have been different if he wouldn't, take seriously himself being a shepherd. Right. Like the story would have panned out differently. Yes. And so I think 100%. we got to remind ourselves too, like, I definitely even think of kind of the example I'm thinking of is like for those who play sports, who are on a sports team, sometimes it's not always the position or the talent we can do, but the platform we get because of it. Yes. So you right now in your life, maybe you have friends and you sit at a quiet table at the lunch table, but man, you play a sport and you are so good at it. And even if you aren't good at it, you are around these people and you can use that platform for God's glory. Think about the conversations that could happen, the way you could fulfill that calling you talked about that we all have as Christians, to tell others about Jesus and to invite them in. And so I think that's that's a powerful.
You've been given a sphere of influence. God has placed you in a circle of friends or in a specific spot with those specific gifts to reach that group. I'm not a musician. The musician life, like I'll be friends with all those. I love those people, but like I'm going to hang out with the athletes because I have more in common. So what gifts do you have that God is putting you to make an impact now?
So, and then we also have to think when we do find those gifts and we do realize what they're for and we realize the impact we can make, that's really not the end of the story. As much as it would be nice for it to be, if we're being real, sometimes stepping in our gifts or walking into that can be very intimidating. And so maybe, a student listening is feeling, no matter what the gift is, that they are not good enough or they are afraid of failing.
Yeah.
And so real briefly, Pastor Mark, just let me know, what would you say to the person who knows they have a gift, but they're scared to use it?
Yeah. I think the first thing there's like 5 different directions that I want to answer this question with. I wrote some things down. I could share those, but honestly, I think the first thing is just to spend some time in prayer about it, that God would give you courage and boldness. I also think you have to understand, to some extent, the deeper answer to that would be to understand why the gifts were given to you to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Gifts were given to you not to make you the hero of your own story. Gifts were not given to you to have you become independent and not to make you happy. Not for you to fall in love with yourself and everything else. They're actually a reflection and should be used as a reflection of Jesus and to make him the hero of your story.
Yeah.
Right? Because really the gifts that you and I have should be a reflection back to what he wants. And I would also say this, like, don't underestimate yourself. Like, God has given you those gifts to be used for a reason.
Yeah.
And right now, students in the room, like, the biggest, you've probably heard this from every youth pastor, every evangelist you've ever heard. And I'll just jump on the train. Just because you hear it a lot doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
Your biggest area of influence is right now in school than it is at any other time in your life. I come in contact with, have conversations with 7 to 10 people a day, max, maybe, in my role, in my office, everything else, right? Students have double, triple, quadruple the amount of people that are around them that they can interact with. So God has prepared you, if I could use the phrase, for such a time as this, right? Let no one despise your youth, right?
You're right.
This is the time that you have the most influence.
Yeah.
It's not when you're old like us. Well, like me, not like you. You're younger. So,
Well, and then I also look at it as when it comes to, man, I'm scared that I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
That I'm going to mess up. It is important to know we have to have a willingness to fail.
Yeah.
If we are just a person who is, I'm not going to mess up, or I'm never, we cannot have that mindset. We have to be okay that, man, I might get on that platform and sing and hit a wrong note, and that is okay.
Right.
Or, man, I might go and try to tell my friend about Jesus on my baseball team, but I butcher it and I get really nervous or whatever, and I failed at that. That is okay. That is a part of it. If you're not going to fail, you're never going to grow. If you just have it easy, when the hard stuff happens, you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so as we're on this topic, developing your gifts, it's kind of convenient and perfect because we have a great event coming up in our district, in Indiana district, and not just Indiana district, all around, fine arts. And so, Pastor Mark, you have a big role in that. You help foresee over all of that. I want you to tell us, for those who don't know, a little bit about it and why should students want to participate?
Yeah. So, fine arts is nationwide, right? There's different festivals, as they call them, all over the United States. The one in Indiana, really, fine arts, this is in essence, I'll give you the quick definition, right? It's helping students discover, develop, and deploy their gifts. Discover, develop, and deploy. And so it takes place once every year, but here's what I want to say, and this is some vision that I'm trying to change, if you will, when it comes to fine arts, right? Fine arts shouldn't just be about that one day where you get to stand up in front of people and perform and everything else. No, it's a gift that you've been given that you should be using year round at your youth group, at your school or whatever. So a lot of the areas that you can perform in are vocal ensemble, human video, big productions with lots of people, drums. You think of all the different musical instruments, preaching, teaching, all of those things. This year, there's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament for the
Which
athletic.
I love. That's super awesome.
Yeah, for the athletic AG student. And so we're trying to advance that. And because, once again, it's not just those that are up on stage, those that are doing ministry on the stage that have gifts. It's everybody. And so we're working towards that. So that's just a little bit of a description of it. It takes place April 5th at River City Church in Lafayette. But, if you have a gift or a talent or a skill, we want to encourage you to come. And here's the important, I think probably one of the most important parts about it is you will get feedback, but that feedback will help you grow in your gift. There's nothing that I mean, how do I say this nicely? Like I want feedback. All that I'm a person like, dude, give me criticism, because I love that, because that just helps me grow stronger. If I'm not growing, like what you said earlier, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. So like that type of feedback is actually really good. And it's not, it's good feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's not like your harsh
It's not,
feedback,
you don't pull out Simon Cowell, or someone's not sitting with the golden buzzer. Like,
and you're not in front of, and you're not in front of like the whole place, and they're like criticizing you. There's small rooms.
They're not throwing tomatoes at you.
Stuff like that.
It's super great, and like even in my life, fine arts played a huge role. I'm not going to go on the story. I've talked about it before, but I mean, the premise of it was I was a week away from moving to go to a music production school in Indy. Already paid most of my tuition at college, or for the schooling I was doing. Already had my apartment 3 months paid. That I had to, the deposit I had to pay, had a job at Chick-fil-A, all of this stuff. And the weekend before I moved on that Friday, and I was supposed to move on that Sunday, I did a spoken word at Fine Arts, and I had a conversation with someone. And that one conversation, me having a willingness to step out in my gift, ended up turning into God revealing what my calling was. And so I went, and man, it was 2 days later, and here comes moving day, and it's like, I can't do this. This isn't what God has. And so instead of going to Indy and doing this, moved to Fort Wayne, started working on my credentials. So it's an incredible thing. And so we are about to wrap up here with our podcast. But before we do, someone was excited. Before we do, we love to ask our guests 10 rapid fire questions. And so Pastor Mark doesn't know what these are.
Yeah, this makes me a little nervous.
Someone called me out. They responded on our Instagram story to a clip, and they're like, "That's funny you guys call it rapid fire, and it took like 4 minutes each time I've done." So I'm gonna try not to talk about it, but we're just gonna go. I want you to answer these as quick as you can.
I will try.
You ready?
But I mean, it is what it is. It's live, so we can just
we'll see what happens. All right, here we go. Favorite TV show?
Oh Lordy! Oh my goodness!
I've not heard of
old school or new school. Like, how old are we talking?
Just favorite TV show.
Goodness.
What comes
favorite
to mind?
TV show.
He's gonna say Leave It to Beaver.
No. Survivor.
That's a good pick. If you could have dinner with any person from the Bible besides Jesus, who would it be?
Joshua.
Favorite restaurant?
Cheesecake Factory. That's my wife's. I can't really say that. That's hers. Yeah. I'm a big burger person. Like, I love. So probably like a Five Guys or a Brew Burger or
That's
something.
A good answer.
Or something like that. Like, I don't,
I told myself I wasn't going to reference Jimmy John's, but that's just, you got to watch episode 1 with Alex.
Yeah, I just can't. That is not on the list.
It's just blasphemy.
That is not on the list.
If you had a superpower, what would it be? If you could choose.
Superpower. I don't know. I fly. Why not? Sure.
All right.
We'll do fly.
And nothing crazy, just a little fly.
I just like, I mean, super strong. I don't know. What did the other two say? What did
I don't
Alex
ask
say?
the same ones.
Oh, you don't ask the same ones.
I ask a little combination. So,
man.
But no, flying's good.
Flying, yeah. I feel like it'd be kind of cool to be able to get to wherever you want to go in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Like when you travel,
Mark, we believe you. It's okay, Pastor Mark.
When you travel as much as I do,
We think flying's good. Yeah, that's true. You just came.
Yeah.
Except it's like only like 20 miles per hour. That'd be terrible. But anyway, favorite Bible story.
Favorite Bible story. Samuel.
Name of your son.
Yep.
Clever. If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my gosh. These are difficult. You should have prepped me on these. If my life was a story.
They wouldn't be rapid fire.
I know. It's not rapid fire because I can't think of anything. I don't know. I got no clue. That's it. I got no clue.
I got no clue. I like
There
it.
you go.
Favorite worship song right now?
Ooh. Oh. I mean, can I pull up my phone on Spotify? Because I can't remember the name of it right now.
It sounds like it's your favorite.
Go
for
ahead.
Sure.
Ask me the next one.
Okay.
Ask me the next one. Ask me the next one.
It's my favorite song, but I could not tell you one thing about it.
So here's the thing. I just started listening to it like last week, and I've just been listening to it like constantly.
All right. Well, I'll ask you while you're pulling it up.
Look around. Look around by house fires.
How's it go? Will you sing it?
No,
I'm just kidding.
I'll play it in the microphone.
Look around. Best way to enjoy the weekend for you?
Basketball game. Like going to a basketball game. Like
Okay.
I mean, I have a lot of hobbies too, but yeah, we'll just say that.
Okay. Would you rather fight one horse-sized goose or 100 goose-sized horses? I'll repeat it for those in the back.
Yeah.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized goose, a size of a horse, or 100 goose-sized horses?
Man. So here's
It's to the death.
I'd probably fight the horse-sized goose, and the reason why, if I can say this, like I just cannot stand geese. Like I think they're the biggest menaces on the planet.
I would actually say I hate horses.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really? You hate horses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't rock with anything that
hate-
lets flies chill on their eyeballs.
When I was 5 or 6, I thought I was going to be a cowboy, so I love horses.
Okay, so
That lasted like
so you would rather
5 minutes.
So you would
But,
fight.
you know.
Wait, which one would you fight again?
Like a goose. That's the size of the horse, right? That's a
So
goose.
you hate goose.
I hate
geese, but you would rather fight a giant one.
I would
Okay.
because I could get rid of one. That one would be gone forever. Let me just tell you, have you been to camp and the geese? Like, bro, it's a whole nother level.
That's a story for a different day.
It's a whole
I got a
nother
backstory
level.
with that. Anyway,
yeah.
Okay.
This is live.
This is bad track record.
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
And then lastly, what fine arts category do you think you would be the best at and the worst at?
Worst, probably.
Wait, you got to start with best.
Oh, best.
Yeah.
Basketball.
Basketball?
Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
preaching?
Oh, yeah. I'm not very good at preaching.
all right.
This podcast is. Some people, I don't know. My wife thinks I preach good, but she's going to lie to my face to make me feel better. So I don't take that. I don't take that with a grain of salt. I got to be honest.
So what about worst?
Worst? Like it would probably be, I would almost say singing, but it would probably be playing a musical instrument.
Isn't there some that do both?
Yes, yeah. So it would be a combination of both. Yeah.
You sing some "Look Around" by House Fires.
No, I'm not singing. No.
Win the award. All right.
No. But like the art stuff, I'd be fine at the art. I actually do a decent amount of like, drawing and painting and things like that. So.
Should have did something live for us, but
yeah, I could have done a whole chalk art thing for you tonight.
A chalk art.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. Right.
Anyway, that is all the time we have for the Youth Will Always Win. So first, can we just thank Pastor Mark Whitehead for being with us tonight? Thank you. Students, we want to remind you just the importance of figuring out the areas you need to win in the most and applying it. And so we're so grateful for you guys listening, for those tuning in, whether that's live or on Spotify or Apple Music. And we just want to encourage you. You can win in your gift, and we talked about how you can do it tonight. So this is Pastor Connor and Pastor Mark Whitehead, and we will see you next time on The Youth Will Always Win. Boom.